So Hannah Neeleman, aka Ballerina Farm, has been profiled again in Vulture.
After 2 years ago when she was profiled by the Times, like the British Times, it was about how unhappy she was in her life, and it really made her out to seem trapped and like at the whims of her husband. She was mad about that, so she did like a reactionary one with the New York Times being like, I'm really happy with what I've done. She then went into hiding for about 2 years in terms of publicity and interviews and stuff, and she was just building her little empire, and now she's back. It seems like it's in correlation with the fact that their company is completely expanding. They're adding like IRL events. They're doing like a very Chip and Joanna Gaines style. There's a shop and there's an inn and you can do tours. There's a whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's basically a cottage industry around Ballerina Farm at this point. The area where their store is, it's kind of become a tourist destination. It's called Midway. I read a piece about Midway, Utah, and the way it's kind of developed around not necessarily just Ballerina Farm, but the online aesthetic of the region.
Other people are moving there to try to live like her or something, or
No, other people have opened stores, and kind of the main drag in Midway, Utah is it's like a destination for cottage.
It's like upstate New York. It's like Hudson. It's like there's one street in the middle of the nowhere and everything is more expensive than anywhere you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, but it's brand new. And so it's this weird thing. There's this interesting quote. People are going there for bachelorette parties and girls' trips. It's like an easy day trip from Salt Lake City. It does look beautiful.
I would love to go and have just like fresh tomatoes with beautiful cheese. I'm sorry. I know it's wrong, but she makes it look so beautiful. You don't want fucking sourdough waffles from scratch in an old-timey cabin.
I know, but what's interesting about it is people are going there for this traditional cottagecore vibe, but everything there is brand new, except for a couple of original mom and pop stores that have been there for years that have always served the community. Now there's this cottage like tourism industry where people are going there. It's like Epcot almost, where it's like cosplaying Utah farmland. But
that's exactly right, because I don't actually want to be
on the farm.
Like, I don't want to be dirty. I don't want to be hot. I don't want to have to work so hard. I want it right there.
Anyway, so that's what's happening there. You know, Vulture spoke to Hannah Neeleman, and this time she came back prepared with answers. I felt she answered everything so perfectly. I wasn't convinced, but I said, oh, that's a poem.
Yeah. So it's a conversation back and forth. She talks about how they're expanding, right? So we're putting up a big farm store, a cafe, a place where we're making butter. We have 4 greenhouses and we're putting up a sheep's dairy, free-range chickens, and making that space ready for customers. It's currently requiring a lot of team calls, master planning. Everything has a spot. It's taken up a lot of our time. So keep that in mind. Right now, she's building out, as Ashley said, essentially a farmland Epcot, and it is taking up tons of her time.
And I think something so interesting is the initial line in this article. Hannah Neeleman doesn't consider herself to be a trad wife, but she knows many people do. And this is kind of the through line, is that she is now expressing a very significant level of self-awareness. I think she's always had it, of course. I mean, she's an incredible marketer. She's literally an influencer. Like, she knows what is appealing to people. And I think for a while she had to pretend to play the game of not really acknowledging what she knew. And I think that that's how the Sunday Times interview went so awry, is I think that a lot of the things that she was kind of playing coy about were taken out of context by someone who didn't like her. And I think a lot of people really don't like her. And it led to this like pretty inflammatory profile.
I feel like the thing that got her in the Times was even what she was playing coy about. It was like the fact that it was so husband driven.
Mm-hmm.
And that she was actually not playing coy. She was open about how religious they were. She was open about how tired she was. She was open about the fact that she had made sacrifices. So if anything, I think she just wasn't media trained yet.
Yeah.
Like the quotes they got her on is saying like, sometimes I'm so tired I need to be asleep for a whole week. The quote that really got her ass was that she does all of her labors or at home medication free, except for the one where her husband didn't show up because he was like shipping things. And she goes, yeah, I got an epidural that time he wasn't there. It was amazing. So if anything, I would say, it was that she was too forthcoming, which was interesting because the other part of that article was how difficult it was to get her on her own.
Yeah.
That she was either he was answering all her questions for her, taking the journalist on the tour, or the children were like climbing all over her. So it was in this funny way, like they couldn't get her by herself. And yet she said all these things that the journalist was able to, whether or not you believe the journalist or Hannah Neeleman or a comedy should both cherry pick to be like, see, we knew it. She's trapped and her life sucks. And everything she does is because her husband wants it and not her own desires. When I do think like, I don't know, like I think it's trickier than that. What do you do with a woman whose preference is to have a head of the household and her husband?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I took away mostly from this article is how decided it was and how ultimately, I think one of the more toxic things about the internet right now is that everyone who's doing anything is doing it at you. And I think that the way that this is the choice she's made, this is the life she wants to live, whether or not she's caught being unhappy in it or is happy in it, I think these are like very active choices made by like an incredibly wealthy woman. I think a lot of people like want to catch her again flipping, like admitting how much it sucks when like, why would it suck? She's very successful and rich and like has everything.
And beautiful.
And beautiful.
I don't know. And her husband do seem aligned.
Exactly.
Epidural or no. I don't know. I feel like they saw in each other like their dreams.
Yeah. So I want to work through a couple of the questions in this Vulture interview because again, it's very practiced.
The other thing I want to say about what you just said about like everyone online is doing it at you. Something that I think is very interesting and tricky about them is that the danger is people are like, well, they're Mormons and they're proselytizing, and part of the Mormon community right now that's making them succeed so much is this idea that they do their missions where they try to like evangelize Mormonism, and being an influencer is an okay in the church job for a woman because it's kind of spreading the word of Mormonism. But I find her very interesting because I think more than anything, she's dialed back the God stuff, but she's dialed up the selling of protein powder.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think of course she justifies it by being like, everything we do is ordained by him and for his honor. But ultimately she's like for his honor and with a buck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she is business minded.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I want to get later to like what is her end goal and then responsibility to followers almost.
She does a brilliant job of absolutely contradicting herself in this article in a way that if you weren't like looking for it, you might not notice. And right up top, she gets asked about the raw milk thing. So they're big raw milk people. They sell raw milk. Recently, some of their raw milk was found to be contaminated. And I couldn't tell. It doesn't seem like it got sold. It seems like there's just like a standard practice of before you can sell raw milk, you have to test it for bacteria.
Yeah.
And she says, you know, we always buy raw milk from different farm CSAs. Every month or so, some batch doesn't make it. It just comes with the situation. And then she says, but my mom was a hippie. I grew up drinking raw milk. My kids drink raw milk. We love it. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. But then she goes, well, right now we're drinking pasteurized milk from our dairy. But I do drink raw milk. But when I do, it would usually come from our family cows. So interesting.
Interesting that she wouldn't buy Ballerina Farm raw milk.
That they don't drink it. They have regular milk at their house.
You know, and she goes back, she says, I've always drank raw milk. I've always loved raw milk. And you don't have to buy it. It's very interesting the terms she uses, like what she considers to be toxic or what she considers to be a clean ingredient. She talks a lot about what inspired her to start her business. And it had a lot to do with her husband taking protein powder, her kids wanting to drink protein supplements like their dad. They would go to sports camps and have these like dyed blue electrolyte beverages. And she's like, how do you get them these ingredients in a clean way? She was asked about the nanny situation. And she says the kids are taken care of and they're doing well. No, we don't have an army of nannies, but we do have help when we need it, which is just the vaguest way you could say anything.
Yeah, it's very confusing because she does this whole thing about how it's important to them to put up a boundary about what they share about their family. And of course, they're not going to tell you that. But I'm like, so it sounds like you do have nannies and you do have babysitters. And then she's all about like working women and the ways that like even her husband's dad, who was the co-founder of JetBlue, women were the customer service people so they could work from home. This is in tandem with the fact that she's like, most of my day is spent doing these intense, elaborate planning meetings. She's like, so are you busy or not? Like, you have 9 kids. Who's watching them?
Yeah, whoever needs to. A big topic for modern mothers is the importance of having a village. Do you relate to that desire? And who is your village? I think the reporter did do a great job, like trying to find this information and ultimately not pestering her in a way where it's like, yeah, the answer is she won't answer. She says, I have a few thoughts on that. I think mothers are irreplaceable. It was really important for me at the beginning of my motherhood journey to be as present as I could with my children. I didn't want to outsource someone raising my children for me, but there are things I know someone can do better, which is teaching them. So that's like not an answer at all, obviously.
So she has a teacher and the teacher has an assistant. And it's funny because I wonder if this is a little game they play.
Like you're not the nanny, you're a teacher and a teacher's assistant.
Yeah. And the teacher's assistant does night shifts.
Yeah.
Also, she keeps saying I don't have an army of nannies, but surely there's one other person because your husband also seems very busy.
Also, what do you mean at the beginning of your motherhood journey, you wanted to be present, but like now that you're on your 9th kid, you realize that's not necessary, or you're present with each child at the beginning of your journey with them?
Yeah, she takes a lot of pains to be like, I can't share everything specifically whether or not I have a nanny, but everything else I can share.
But then she gets candid. When she talks about getting back in shape after 9 kids, she's like, I'm just like you. I'm finding a good angle. I'm not going to try to look bad on camera. I still have weight to lose. My stomach isn't flat.
She also says that the reason she doesn't show those parts of her life, like her cleaning up and stuff, is because nobody really wants to see that online. At the beginning, I did. It was like me doing laundry, me cleaning up the house, but you have to be careful what you share on the internet. And I don't think anybody really wants to look at somebody's dirty laundry or a sink full of dishes, because does anyone really want to see that? Yeah, there's actually entire accounts that are dedicated to like cleaning up. There's actually a dad that I watch clean up, and it is good. Can I say it's just as ASMR-y compelling to watch? If she had a whole second half, that was, here's me cleaning up afterwards, here's me putting away the laundry,
But can I say she is right in that people want beautiful content. Like when I used to watch ASMR cleaning content, it was like just as much work, I feel like, to make that content look really nice.
No, of course, but I think she has specifically veered away from it because she's aspirational. She lives a life where it doesn't seem like there's ever a pain point. And then when asked about it, she goes, well, my husband cleans up. She says that like,
he learned to cook because she has 9 kids now.
She likes to cook, but he likes to clean and he does the laundry. So there's this real fantasy here of I get to do all the fun parts of motherhood. I get to breastfeed my child and bake the bread, and somebody else is doing the laundry and somebody else is doing the cleaning. And you'll never see that, because why would you want to see that? And it's like, actually, we're deeply curious. Is that true? Show us your husband cleaning up after 9 kids constantly. Because if you're cooking from scratch every day, that's a full-time job. So what do you mean he's cooking up, he's doing laundry, he's working the farm, and he's building a business?
Mm-hmm.
That's not what one person can do.
Unless there's an army of nannies that she's lying about.
If she's looking for views, you could make that into views, but it's something she's very deliberate about hiding.
Right.
Which is evident by the fact that she used to show it and then she changed her mind as a strategy.
Exactly. And I think what was so interesting is at the end of her New York Times article, which was sort of a rebuttal to the Sunday Times article, she says, the goal of this enterprise, Miss Neeleman said, is not to accumulate more wealth, converts, or fame, but to bring her followers the joy that she experiences in family farming. So that is objectively not true, or at least anymore. Like now she is looking for...
Because then she's like, we looked for products we could scale.
Right.
The joy in family farming is not a scalable protein powder.
Right. And then her like intentional content pivots for like a certain aesthetic that matches her brand are not expressing the joy of family farming. The joy of family farming, there's like pig shit involved in that. She is looking for fame, like a certain type of fame and success that she is very strategically creating content in order to amplify. But what I find so interesting is that I do think, obviously, when people sit there and go like, we have to see the dirty side, like we have to make her admit that she has so many nannies, we have to have all of these things. Ultimately, like, I don't think she owes that to people, but I do think that there's something to be said for like where we are as a society now. And I think that there is something when people go, why can't she just do her thing? I like also think there are valid reasons to want to poke and prod at it. And I think that that's like fair given the fact that she is coming from a place of power and she puts on this apron and like acts like she's just cracking eggs the best way she knows how. Like that's not true.
No, of course. Of course she's building a business. And I think what I find so interesting is the media training from interview A to interview B, and the fact that it seems like, I bet after the last couple of interviews, they're like, we're out. I'll feed myself just as I want to my viewers. Like, why would she do this article? But I guess they feel they're at a business inflection point where she has to get back out there, fix some mistakes publicly. They got her some training. I think a really interesting example is the interviewer says, compared to other developed countries, mothers in the US have far less social support. Many women don't have paid leave and struggle to pay for childcare. What would you like the government to do to support them on a macro level? She straight up says, I'll keep it in our territory. We like respect our employees' time with their kids. And look at Daniel's dad. He had call centers that were all moms working from home. He gave many mothers opportunities to work from home, which I loved. That is actually different than childcare, because how are you supposed to work and take care of kids? That's actually sometimes even harder. I also think this pivot is interesting. She said there's a lot of attention on Mormons and Utah in general right now with Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and its spinoffs. Do you think that we're in a Mormon pop culture moment? How often do you post about your faith online and how do you navigate that? Her response, we don't have a TV in the house, so I'm probably not the best person to ask about pop culture. And then in terms of my faith, it's just a part of who we are. But that's very different than what they said last time, which is everything we do is for him. And like the first article says, their faith comes up a lot when you're talking to them in real life. So this is she really ducked that question well. Just, yeah, we have faith. She doesn't even say the word Mormon. And I think that this is like an interesting reveal. Like somebody trained her to do this. They sent her without her husband. They said, we're going to send you on your own so nobody can say he's speaking for you. And here's how you dodge every tricky question.
And she does it beautifully.
Yeah. And I mean, it's something that I actually talked about in my special, or it's like when I was doing jokes about it, the idea that for a while there was this moment on social media where women could finally be honest about how difficult motherhood was, but it seemed motherhood seemed terrible. And then now there's like a backlash of people being like, you're allowed to enjoy it, but it's almost like enjoying motherhood has almost become politicized.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this tricky thing of like, how do you love having a child and a family and a home without playing into this like secret trad wife conservative movement?
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is, I also think in general, the idea of women enjoying homemaking is very loaded right now due to current political climate. If you enjoy domesticity, you may be labeled a trad wife. Why do you think that is? And so she talks about it, and it's funny because she says, I also think women love to compare. I don't see it as much with men. I just went to an event where Martha Stewart was speaking, and the woman next to me basically talked shit about Martha Stewart the whole time. And she's like, you don't have to be Martha Stewart. First of all, who went to a Martha Stewart event and talked shit about Martha Stewart to Hannah Neeleman and thought they found a safe listener? That's crazy. I was like almost worried it was us. I said, who would do that? Who would make a mistake like that?
I would never talk shit about Martha. I know it wasn't me.
She's your favorite billionaire.
Listen, until we've knocked down all the men billionaires, I won't knock down Martha.
But I also think it's so funny to say men don't compare as much. Have you ever seen men talk about sports? Men who didn't get onto their varsity soccer team will be like, what I would have done in the World Cup instead of this fucking idiot.
Well, exactly. And I think it's so interesting that she sits here and like plays into the tropes. And I think, most people don't know how to not do that. Like you see that everywhere. Women saying, well, women be like, yeah. And it's always the most negative thing. And men are so amazingly not.
She says women are talented in the kitchen. They are talented mothers and nurturers. So they can lean into that because the opportunity to do other things as well. I don't know. Are women talented in the kitchen? Then why is every famous chef a man?
Yeah.
Why were women not really allowed to be line cooks and chefs? It seems like your husband took a cooking lesson and then he learned and now he can do it.
Why did I just figure out scrambled eggs?
Yeah, that was crazy. I actually can't explain that.
I'm just not talented in the
kitchen.
kitchen.
Actually have an idea and I think it has something to do with my fitness pal. If we want to be honest.
How was I supposed to know that butter was flavor?
I wasn't allowed to have calories. Anyway, yeah, so I just want to say, I think kudos to this lady, man. She really artfully came into Vulture, which I think is the dungeon of the haters, and dipped and dodged every question, and now she'll go back to her perfect family. And who knows, maybe I'll spend $72 on colostrum from her farm. Well, actually not her farm. It's something that outsourced because of how quickly they grew.
Yeah.
So somebody's farm.
Somebody's farm is making colostrum, and Claire wants that leaky butt milk.
It comes with the protein powder. Oh my God, they almost have me sold on this like hot chocolate mix-in. The Mad Men of today are the TikTok shop moms because they are in those terribly lit rooms being like, it's changing my life. And I believe them every time.
I believe them every time.
They're like, look, I used to have the saggiest face you've ever seen and now it's perfectly tight. And I'm like, wow.
I just found out it's because of my gut health.
No, this one's Volufiline. And they're always saying, oh, did you just buy Medicube stuff individually? I'm so sorry for you because now it's $4. And I go, fuck. I didn't buy it, but I'm worried about the women who did.
Hannah Neeleman, I'm very impressed by her. I guess I think it's so interesting the way she gets me to feel for her because I'm like, wow, it does suck that in order for you to live, people are going to be online being really mad at you. But also that's what you picked. And I think that it is a bumpy line because I don't think that everyone who puts their life online deserves like unlimited backlash.
I guess with me, for her, like I don't even care about the hate she gets online, and I don't think she cares either. I'm sure she has somebody that does just like posts for her so she doesn't have to look. But I guess my question really is like, what do we want of other women? I'm not more successful than Ballerina Farm. I'm not more fit or more beautiful. I'm not more famous online. Like, what I'm gonna be like, you can't have so many kids because you won't be able to accomplish the things that you've like beaten me at already. And I do understand, of course, this idea that like she's making it look easy, but it seems like we all know she's a billionaire. It seems like we all know that it isn't that why it's her and not us, because it's her, not us. Like, how many women are going, well, I could be Ballerina Farm? Don't we implicitly know that we can't? There is something insanely incredible. Like 12 days after giving birth, she won Miss America, Mrs. America. Like there is,
Miss American. I don't know. Some people are better at stuff. Like
Alicia Keys, Hannah Neeleman. I don't know. There are women who you're just like, yeah, I don't know. You win. You're better than me.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because the fact that she's cosplaying a housewife almost. People go, but that's not what housewives are. But it is obviously what she's like. The New York Times article starts by talking about how like unrealistically effortless she seems. And I am like, but some people are calm in their demeanor. Like some people are just calmer in their demeanor than others. And she might just be a calm person, or she's putting it on for the camera and for you. Like, I don't know. But some people just are that way. And ultimately, yeah, it seems unrealistic that she's a housewife who is like this. That is unrealistic because she's not a housewife who is like this. Like, she is the leader of an empire who is like this.
Yeah.
And also some housewives are like that. Like, I don't know. I grew up in a town where some people have lots of kids. And sometimes there are moms who are...
You knew someone with 9 kids?
I knew someone with 6 kids. And there are some people who just are really good at certain things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like, what do we want to see? Because I don't know that I want to see her cleaning up her house. I actually don't. I think those are separate types of content. And she picked a different thing.
I'm trying to think if I would like to see her clean up her fridge. I might.